It's late evening in Bengaluru. Not the postcard Bengaluru, not your cafes and startups, but that in between hour when the city exhales. Traffic becomes lesser, street lights flicker on, delivery bikes multiply, and the funny thing is, you only notice them only when you need them. A few months ago, I was standing near a roadside tea stall. A delivery rider pulled up next to me, removed his helmet, and ordered chai. We spoke, nothing dramatic. He told me that he mostly works nights, said that his mornings are slow, evenings are crowded, and that his nights are very profitable. Then he said something very simple. Sir, ide ನನಗೆ ಮಾಡೋದಿಷ್ಟ ರಾತ್ರಿ ದುಡ್ಡು ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಮಾಡೋದು. That line stayed with me because at the same time television studios were debating whether men like him were victims. So tonight let's talk about this gap between how power speaks about workers and how gig workers actually live their lives. There is a certain tone politicians use when they claim to care about something or someone. It is very loud, it is absolute, and it leaves no room for disagreement. Recently, leaders from the Indian left, including Member of Parliament like Raghav Chadha, began attacking India's gig economy, including Zomato, Blinkit, Swiggy. The accusation was moral and it was not very technical. They weren't saying, here's a clause that needs fixing. They were saying the entire system is immoral. And moral accusations are powerful because they can shut down the entire conversation. If you disagree, you appear to be heartless. If you ask questions, you are corporate. But history teaches us something very uncomfortable. Some of the most destructive policies were passed in the name of compassion. So before we decide who is right, we must ask who is being spoken for and who is being spoken over. Something unusual happened after these attacks. There were calls for strikes, there were calls for boycott appeals, there were activist toolkits, but on the ground, there was barely anything. Over 1.3 crore gig workers logged in and worked, not because they were scared, but because they had bills to pay, families to support, and choices to make. Silence is often dismissed as ignorance, but silence can also be rejection. And the numbers tell you this story and back this claim up. India's gig workforce was 77 lakh people in 2020-21. It is projected to reach 2.35 crore by 2029-30. This is not a collapsing system, it is an expanding one. So why does it keep expanding, especially among the young? This is a question that we need to explore. You see, to understand gig work, you have to forget LinkedIn. Most gig workers didn't choose between corporate job and delivery job. They chose between no work and some work, delayed payments and instant payments, invisible labor and logged labor. Before platforms, there was the contractor who disappeared, the shop owner who used to pay late, the daily wage that vanished during rain. Gig work didn't introduce precarity. It made precarity visible and negotiable. And for the first time, earnings were trackable, effort correlated with income, exit was possible without permission. Many gig workers today earn close to 40,000 rupees a month, sometimes more than clerical or informal alternatives. This may not impress television studios in New Delhi, but it matters enormously in small towns and migrant households. This is why Deepinder Goyal keeps making an argument that sounds boring, but it matters really deeply. Nobody is trapped here. And systems that allow exit are fundamentally different from systems that don't allow them to exit. Let's talk about the dream being sold as an alternative. Fixed wages, permanent employment, guaranteed security. It sounds a lot like you're offering someone stability, but in India, stability has been very selective. Permanent jobs don't absorb millions of people, they filter them out. That was the logic of license Raj. And what that led to is scarcity of opportunity, power for gatekeepers, long waiting lines for dignity. When politicians demand that gig platforms convert everyone into formal employees, they are not expanding opportunity, they are shrinking it. Because if platforms are forced into rigid structures, what will happen is this: costs are going to increase, flexibility will disappear, order volumes are going to drop, jobs are going to evaporate. Europe actually tried this experiment and it failed because platforms shrank, workers lost a lot of hours, automation replaced humans, and India cannot afford policies that feel good but work very badly on the ground. Another claim repeated endlessly is gig workers have no protection. That statement is frozen in time. India formally recognized gig and platform workers under the Code on Social Security 2020. For the first time, the law acknowledged the truth. Modern work doesn't fit the 20th century categories. Gig workers today can access accident insurance, health and maternity benefits, pension and welfare schemes, and through the e-Shram portal, over 31.38 crore unorganized workers are registered, with benefits that move with the worker and not the company. And this matters a lot. Why? Because it means protection without imprisonment. It means giving them security without suffocating them. Why does this outrage keep returning all the time? Because many elites are uncomfortable with one idea, that poor people can make rational choices. There is a deep instinct in Indian politics to manage the poor, not trust them. But workers understand something very instinctively. Growth creates leverage for them, stagnation creates dependency which they don't like, and they know when outrage is symbolic. They're very well aware of these tactics. They know when it threatens their livelihood as well. That's why these protest calls fail again and again. Now, let's return to that delivery rider I was speaking to. No theory, no ideology, just a man choosing how to use his time. The real question this debate asks is not about apps or companies, it is about agency. Do we trust Indians to decide for themselves? Or do we believe dignity can only arrive through political permission that have been given by a few overlords? India's gig workers have already answered. They did not chant, they did not trend any hashtags, they simply worked and worked. And maybe, just maybe, that quiet choice deserves more respect than a loud concern out there on social media.